No matter how deep you bury the truth, it always finds a way to the surface. Today's story unravels the mystery behind what everyone believed was a tragic accident, but in truth was a carefully hidden murder. Nestled amidst rolling hills and emerald green fields lay the village of Neelgram. The villagers shared stories over steaming cups of chai. Neelgram was more than just a village. It was a family. At the heart of this community was Meera. Her kindness knew no bounds, but all that changed one ominous evening when Meera was reported missing. A sense of unease settled over Neelgram. The villagers, armed with lanterns and hope, fanned out into the falling night. The men ventured into the surrounding forests, their faces grim, their resolve unwavering. As the hours ticked by, their hope dwindled. Dawn broke. The villagers, weary and heartbroken, returned empty-handed. Days turned into nights, and still there was no sign of Meera. The local police, ill-equipped to handle such a case, seemed overwhelmed. Inspector Nagendra, a seasoned investigator known for his sharp instincts, was assigned as the special officer to handle Meera's missing case. Days passed with no leads, and the village held its breath in anxious silence. Then, the villagers' worst nightmare came true. A young shepherd boy, tending to his flock near the outskirts of the village, stumbled upon something unusual. Lying amidst the reeds, her face pale and lifeless, was Meera. News of Meera's fate ripped through Neelgram. To the villagers, it appeared to be a simple accident, a slip that led to a fatal blow to the head. But not everything was as it seemed. Officer Nagendra arrived as the sun began to set. Nagendra vowed silently to find the truth. Nagendra began his investigation with a heavy heart. He examined the scene meticulously. He knew something was not adding up. The riverbank offered few answers. If this was a murder, the killer had been careful, leaving behind little evidence. As darkness descended, casting long shadows over Neelgram, Nagendra felt a growing unease. Something didn't feel right. Nagendra shifted his focus to the colleagues of Meera. His gaze fell upon Sanjay, a quiet boy who often kept to himself. Sanjay had always been an observer, blending into the background. Nagendra called Sanjay aside, his tone gentle, non-threatening. Sanjay's answers were hesitant, his voice barely a whisper. It was as if he carried a secret, a heavy burden he desperately wanted to unload. Nagendra found several crucial pieces of evidence. A broken bracelet that belonged to Meera, strands of hair caught on the rough bark of a tree, and most telling of all, a torn piece of fabric lodged between the rocks. This fabric matched the shirt Sanjay was wearing the day Meera disappeared. Nagendra continued questioning Sanjay the next few days, his tone neutral, his gaze steady. Sanjay's unease grew with each passing moment. He pressed Sanjay about his whereabouts on the day Meera disappeared. Sanjay confessed to being with Meera on the day she disappeared. Sanjay's confession tumbled out in fragments. He had loved Meera, he claimed, loved her with an intensity that bordered on obsession. But his dreams were shattered by her gentle rejection. In a moment of blind rage, he had pushed her, her head striking a rock with a sickening thud. He had watched in horror as she lay still. Silence descended upon the small room. The weight of Sanjay's confession hung heavy in the air. The boy was consumed by guilt. His love for Meera twisted and tainted by his actions. Nagendra placed a hand on Sanjay's shoulder, asserted his authority. "Tell me everything," he said. "Tell me what happened after." Sanjay's confession flowed like a torrent. He described his panic, his desperate attempts to revive Meera. Driven by fear and desperation, he had carried her lifeless body towards the river, gently placing her amongst the reeds, hoping it would look like an accident. Nagendra listened patiently. Piece by piece, he reconstructed the events of that fateful day. Sanjay's confession was damning. News of Sanjay's confession spread through Neelgram like wildfire. How could one of their own, a boy they had watched grow up, commit such a heinous act? Sanjay, racked with guilt, offered little resistance. He was found guilty of manslaughter and sentenced to a lengthy prison term. Life in Neelgram slowly returned to a semblance of normalcy. We would request you to please subscribe to our channel for more intriguing stories and updates. Help us bring even more thrilling mysteries to life. Click the link in the description to keep the stories coming.